I have got something called birdshot chorioretinopathy, or birdshot uveitis. When I first started having problems, I went through a journey very similar to yours, because mine's a very rare disease. Initially, I was told it was my age, go away, everything would be fine. Eventually, I found an amazing consultant, happens to be down in Southampton. Some people know his name, but he diagnosed me. And when I was diagnosed, I said, thank you. Now just give me the drugs so I can be cured and get back to work and my life. And I remember him saying to me, look, Rhea, you and I are going to go on a very, very long journey together. And he was quite right. And it's been a good and bad journey. But at the time, I knew nobody with my condition. And it is a blinding condition. It's an autoimmune condition. And the only known treatment at the time was incredibly toxic medication, which wrecks your life, steroids and really high doses of immunosuppressants. And the only thing I could do was internet to try and find some information. But because it was a rare disease, there was no research, there was no hope of any research, because no one knew how many patients. At one time, I was told I was the only person in the whole of the UK with it. Like you, I found that in America, they were doing lots of exciting things. So eventually, I flew to America, to Boston, to an amazing doctor in Boston, Dr. Foster in Boston, true, where he held a conference, and I and one other person from the UK attended. And that's where I met a woman called Annie, who also had birdshot, and she, like me, thought she was the only person in the whole of the UK with it. So we got together and we thought, this just isn't good enough. Given what they were doing in America, let's do something in the UK. So we came back to the UK and we set up a charity called the Birdshot Uveitis Society, which Dolores has just mentioned, because actually we work in partnership with Fight for Sight and get money from them. And we started, it was just the two of us. We've never been paid. We did it in our own time. We set up our own website. We got a list of all the uveitis doctors in the country and wrote to them saying, we're setting up this charity, what would you want from it? Can you put leaflets up in your clinic so anybody who gets diagnosed with this very rare disease, they'll get some support? That was 8 years ago. Today, the Birdshot Uveitis Society has just had its third international conference. It funds research. Again, no paid staff, but what it does, the power of patience. When I first got my disease, I was told, this is a painless disease, your eyes do not hurt. And I kept saying, well, why do my eyes hurt? And then I met Annie, and she kept saying, why do my eyes hurt? Because I'm told this is a painless disease. So just like you this morning were talking about, is hearing loss something to do with blepharospasm? We were saying, hold on, we think painful eyes is something to do with birdshot. And by getting a load of patients together, we got enough information to begin to question some of the assumptions. One of the assumptions was birdshot only happens to women in their 50s. Actually, we've got children aged 16 who've got birdshot. We've got men who've got birdshot of all ages. Similar to blepharospasm, it's seen as something that happens to the older age group, and hence the difficulty in diagnosing it. But through the work that we did, Annie and I did, setting up the charity, and I have to say, again, I want to emphasize how amazing the ophthalmologists were, because they all joined in. They were desperate to get hold of the information, and so glad that we as patients had taken the lead. We managed to find 600 patients in the UK and over 1,000 elsewhere in the world. We started collating all the information. We know where they are. We can now hold trials because we know where people are. That's the greatest difficulty in undertaking research. If you don't know where people are, there's no way that you can get a large enough cohort together to undertake the research. We started doing, as Dolores has said, we went on the Carrot Walk, we held book fairs, we did all sorts of fundraising. Because we're called Birdshot, somebody actually, I'm not sure how good this was, but they had a shooting event to raise money. It all began to feel a bit uncomfortable, but nevertheless, they raised thousands. And then Fight for Sight matched our funding, and we've got a whole load of research projects off the ground. But most importantly, we were able to meet people with our condition, and the relief of just not having to explain yourself. Oh my goodness, do you fall up the stairs like I do because you can't see depth? Oh my goodness, were you walking down the street and a huge dragon landed in front of you, because we get visual hallucinations because of loss of sight? Yeah, they go. Or we get even worse things. It took us 2 hours to get to a meeting because we had to walk 10 miles around the block to get around that samurai warrior in the middle of the road. And just that ability to be able to be with people who understand what you're going through, really relax. It's better than meditation. It's better than mindfulness, being with a whole group of people who understand you. But the power of patience also means that you can get your agenda up and running. If you shout loudly, then people will listen. You'll start getting the funding, you'll start getting the interest. You've already got a group of professional, your pro-blephos are so interested in the subject. You've already got them here as a captive audience. So whatever you want to do, please use today to start that process. And if you need me in any capacity to help, I'm here. I know Alan, where's Alan? I can't, like you, I have problems with glare, so I can't see a thing. Is that stand up, Alan? There's Alan. Alan's desperate to start something, so if any of you have got any ideas, and one of the things that we did was used all the expertise. So we happened to find somebody who knew about websites to set up the website. Somebody in this room has got IT skills. Where's that person? Have they gone? Alan's got his name. But we found people who are marketing people, so they marketed people who are graphic designers, so they designed our logo. It was all in-house, and we just grew organically. I just want to let you know how much you as a group of patients can achieve. So thank you very much for listening to me yet again.